Shalom, children. Today we are going to be talking about food. To be exact, we are going to find out what animals Yahweh allows his people to eat and what animals he does not. The animals we can eat are called clean animals, and the animals we cannot eat are called unclean animals. Yahweh made some land animals specifically for us to eat, and some other ones that had different purposes. He instructed Moshe and Aaron to tell the people how to know which land animals were fine to eat. He said, "Tell them that if an animal's foot, called a hoof, is separated in two, like this, and that animal also eats grass, and then spits it out and eats it again, then those land animals you can eat." Oh, that sounds really gross, doesn't it? Let me explain. Some animals have more than one stomach inside, and Yahweh made them that way, so their food would get very well chewed. This is called chewing the cud. Now, the clean animals that were for eating had to be just as described, with both a split hoof and chewing the cud. To make sure that we recognized at least some of the clean animals, he needed some as examples. They probably saw lots of camels around there, but they were not to eat them. They could use them for other things. You see, camels chew the cud, but they don't have a split hoof, so they are unclean. And those cute little bunnies you see hopping about, they are not to be eaten either. They chew their cud, but they don't have split hooves. In fact, they don't have hooves at all. Now, let's look at the pig. If you look at their feet, they have split hooves, and they like to eat a lot. But they only eat it once and keep on going. They don't chew the cud, and they seem to eat just about everything else. So, even though these little piggies like to eat everything, don't you go eating them. The Israelites knew they could eat some land animals like sheep, goats, and cows, because Yahweh had said they were good for sacrifices and for the priest to eat. Now, let's move on to the water animals. Yahweh made a lot of fish and other aquatic creatures. Yahweh knew that they would probably want to go fishing in the rivers and the seas. He said, "I know there are a lot of swimming creatures in the water, but make sure you take a good look at what you catch, and only keep the ones that have both fins and scales on them. Don't look for only one of these things. Make sure the fish has both." He also said, "No octopus or crabs. They have their purpose, and it's not for your dinner." Just as you can see water animals of all colors, shapes, and sizes, the sky is filled with flying creatures of every color, shape, and size. But, as with the water animals, not all are for you to eat. Yahweh didn't really say how to tell one type of bird from another, the way he did with the water animals and the land animals, but he didn't leave us to guess. Instead, he gave us a long list of the birds we could not eat. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but one unclean animal you may be familiar with is the owl. And boy, there are lots of different kinds of owl. He said we couldn't eat eagles, ravens, ostriches, or seagulls. He also said not to eat bats, So he even covered animals that flew, even if they were not birds. Can you guess which creature was not on the list of unclean animals that was forbidden? I will give you a hint. It's a bird, and it can be made into nuggets. Did you think of a chicken? That's right, the chicken was a bird that we could eat. And that's great, because I like chicken nuggets. Do you? Now, do you remember a little while back we learned about the plagues in Mitzrayim? Well, do you remember that there was a certain flying creature that covered all the plants and ate them all up? That's right, the locust. They are insects. Now, can you guess whether we can eat them or not? I would not want to eat a locust, but if there is no chicken nuggets around, well, Yahweh said we could eat them, and crickets and grasshoppers. But we can't eat crocodiles, tortoises, or lizards, and I'm sure glad about that, because I don't think they would taste very good. There is a lot written in the scripture about animals that cannot be eaten and those that can. But besides not eating them, there are also rules about animals being touched once they died. Also, if an animal that was dead touched certain things like pots or pans or drinking cups, those things were unclean, and the person who touched them was unclean. They didn't stay that way forever, only until that evening. Then they could go and be with their families. Well, children, we have come to the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting Torah portion. Shalom.
And they will know that we belong to Him. When